We look at a map today and assume the hard part is over. We've laid down the roads, plotted the shipping lanes, and tamed the physical geography of the planet to serve our daily needs. Look at this vintage biplane. In 1919, a flight from London to Australia took almost a month of grueling travel, requiring over 24 stops for repairs and fuel. By 2027, Qantas will launch a direct commercial flight between Sydney and London that completes the entire journey in just 22 hours nonstop. We have effectively erased global distance. To keep that hyper-connected global network moving, we've built staggering infrastructure. We operate colossal complexes like this one, sitting right on major riverways, capable of refining millions of barrels of oil and processing endless streams of petrochemicals around the clock. To protect that constant flow of resources, Western powers spent the last century forging diplomatic alliances. We built a vast global security architecture to guarantee that shipping lanes stay open and energy supplies remain stable. But that sense of stability is cracking. The systems we built to sustain our map are increasingly fragile, and the physical environment itself is beginning to enter dangerous, irreversible feedback loops. Pushing our environment to extract maximum resources has pushed these systems to their absolute limits. We are triggering a massive, cascading failure that is going to violently redraw the geography of the planet. On the modern battlefield, traditional military superiority is already starting to fail against cheap, asymmetric technology. In Ukraine, millions of cheap first-person view drones have created impenetrable kill zones. We are seeing swarms of these inexpensive, explosive drones descend upon large static armored convoys, completely halting the forward momentum of massive conventional armies. Ukrainian forces are deploying these drones deep into Russian territory, specifically targeting oil refineries and export terminals to cripple the revenue streams funding the war. At the same time, in the Middle East, traditional oil supplies are being held hostage at extremely narrow geographic bottlenecks. Huge fleets of oil tankers are struggling to navigate crucial straits under the threat of localized attacks, sending global energy prices soaring. That desperation to secure alternative energy sources is actively fracturing decades-old diplomatic alliances. Take the Falkland Islands, where this historical bloodshed firmly solidified the United Kingdom's claim to the territory back in the 1980s. Now, a newly discovered $125 billion oil field in those waters is testing loyalties. The current U.S. administration is reportedly considering abandoning its long-standing alliance with the UK to officially back Argentina's claim to the islands instead. This shift toward localized resource competition is forcing a choice between national energy security and the traditional military alliances of the last century. And while global political borders are fracturing, the physical land that fuels them is actively collapsing, specifically along the United States Gulf Coast. Louisiana possesses a massive concentration of port tonnage and petrochemical wealth. Yet, despite moving billions of dollars of resources every year, the state consistently ranks at the absolute bottom of the country for domestic quality of life, health, and education. This happens because of a local corporate subsidy program called the Industrial Tax Exemption Program, or ITAP. For decades, it has systematically exempted huge industrial plants from paying local property taxes. It operates as a feedback loop that starves local municipalities of infrastructure funding to enrich global energy conglomerates. This diagram shows how that industrial protection creates a fatal environmental feedback loop. Massive levee systems were built to protect the refineries, but they block the Mississippi River from naturally overflowing and depositing the sediment required to build and sustain the coastal land. Instead, that dirt is forced straight out into the Gulf of Mexico. Without that sediment, the ground is actively sinking beneath the sea. The Louisiana coast is currently losing an area of land the size of a football field every 10 minutes. As the sea level rises and the land sinks, major industrial cities are becoming increasingly isolated. Look at this long concrete levee wall, precariously separating the high floodwaters on the left from a low-lying residential neighborhood on the right. By attempting to tightly engineer the environment to maximize industrial extraction, we're destroying the very ground required to sustain the system in the first place. The emissions generated by this intense global extraction don't stay localized to the Gulf Coast. They pump directly into the atmosphere, linking these local actions to the collapse of the Earth's macroclimate systems. As global temperatures rise, we hit the ultimate planetary tipping point, the rapid melting of the Greenland ice sheet. This vast, cracked glacial ice sheet is losing billions of tons of frozen water every year, pouring directly into the North Atlantic. This map visualizes the AMOC, or the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation. It acts as a massive oceanic conveyor belt, pulling warm water up from the equator to heat northwestern Europe, before cooling, sinking, and circulating back south. But as fresh water flowing off Greenland dilutes the ocean's salt concentration, that surface water becomes less dense. It loses its ability to sink, causing the entire continuous circulation loop to stall and fade. If the AMOC completely collapses, it cuts off the heat supply to an entire continent. We would see thick glacial ice rapidly creeping southward, enveloping cities like London and Oslo in Siberian winters, triggering a modern ice age in Europe. Once that oceanic tipping point is crossed, the process is locked in. The circulation system moves so slowly that even if we cut all emissions to zero tomorrow, it could not be restarted for centuries. We have not conquered the map. Our technological hubris hasn't given us permanent control over the geography of the Earth. Instead, we have triggered a planetary-scale feedback loop that will violently and permanently redraw the world for us.